Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet. Shanvatam swakatha Krishna पुण्यश्रावणकीर्तनः हृद्यान्तस्थय भद्राणि विधुनोति सुविशतं नष्टप्रायस्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Verse 9 and 10. Verse 9. Akalpa swanga cheta chistayam sakunta eva panjare tatra labdha smritir daivat karma janma satodbhavam smaran dirgham anuchvasam sarma kim nama vindate. Synonyms: Akalpaha, unable; Soanga, his limbs; Chistayam, to move; Sakuntaha, a bird; Eva, like; Panjare, in a cage; Tatra, there; Labdha Smritihi, having gained his memory; Daivat, by fortune; Karma, activities; Janma Satad Udbhavam, occurring during the last 100 births; Smaran, remembering; Dirgham, for a long time; Anuchvasham, sign; Sarma, peace of mind; Kim, what; Nama, then; Vindate, can he achieve. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The child thus remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? Purport. After birth, the child may forget about difficulties of his past lives, but when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. If we do not believe in the scriptures, that is a different question. But if we have faith in the authority of such descriptions, then we must prepare for our freedom in the next life. That is possible in this human form of life. One who does not take heed of these indications of suffering in human existence is said to be undoubtedly committing suicide. It is said that this human form of life is the only means for crossing over the nescience of Maya or material existence. We have a very efficient boat in this human form of body, and there is a very expert captain, the spiritual master. The scriptural injunctions are like favorable winds. If we do not cross over the ocean of the nescience of material existence, in spite of all these facilities, then certainly we are all intentionally committing suicide. Verse 10. Arabhya saptaman masa labdhabodhapi vepitaha naikatraste sutivate visthavuri vasodaraha. Synonyms: Arabhya, beginning; Saptamat, masat, from the 7th month; Labdhabodhaha, endowed with consciousness; Api, although; Bepitaha, tossed; Na, not; Ekatra, in one place; Aste, he remains; Sutivatehi, by the winds for childbirth; Visthavuhu, the worm; Eva, like; Sa Udaraha, born of the same womb. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after his conception, the child is tossed downward by the airs that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. Like the worm's bone of the same fill the abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. Purport: at the end of the seventh month, the child is moved by the bodily air and does not remain in the same place, for the entire uterine system becomes slackened before delivery. The worms have been described here as Sodara. Sodara means bone of the same mother. Since the child is born from the womb of the mother, and the worms are also born of fermentation within the womb of the same mother, under the circumstances, the child and the worms are actually brothers. We are very anxious to establish universal brotherhood among human beings, but we should take into consideration that even the worms are our brothers, what to speak of other living entities. Therefore, we should be concerned about all living entities. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm seeking blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam to purify myself. I'll summarize the two verses. So, this chapter 31 is Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of the living entities. In the previous verses, it is mentioned how when baby is in mother's womb, it's completely dependent upon the type of food mother eats, as the baby's body is very delicate. It can't tolerate food which is too much salty, too much spicy, too hot, etc. So the child is so helpless for this 9 to 10 months time period because his consciousness is not very developed. The child can tolerate it. Otherwise, he would die. That is the benediction of Maya, who endows the suffering body with the qualifications for tolerating such terrible tortures. If a grown man were put into such a condition, is the child within the abdomen completely entangled in all respects, it would be impossible for him to live even for a few seconds. We can understand what a child has to go through in the womb of mother. Usually, people think mother's womb is very comfortable for babies. We never learn all these things from modern science. This proves the limitations of material knowledge. So, we never learn before how the babies are suffering inside the mother's womb. That's why it's very essential to read scriptures. Only Srimad Bhagavatam will give all this knowledge to us. In this verse 9, it's mentioned if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100th birth and he grieves wretchedly. So the question arises why Srila Prabhupada is saying fortunate? Already suffering is there, and remembering suffering of past 100 lives, that's considered fortunate because if we can remember this, we can try to get out of this repeated birth and death cycle. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivista mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is saying, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. If living entity wants to forget Krishna, Krishna helps them to forget. And if they want to remember him, he will help. So thing is, we usually forget our suffering. We suffer so much when we are in the womb of our mother. We pray to the Lord to deliver us and never takes birth again. This prayer by babies will cover in the next verses. This will come in next verses of this chapter 31. But as soon as we come out, we forget everything and try to be happy in this material world. We always try to lord it over and try to enjoy this material energy. In the purport of verse 9, Prabhupada is saying, one who does not take heed of these indications of suffering in human existence is said to be undoubtedly committing suicide, because human form of life is the only means for crossing over the nescience of Maya or material existence. This human form of body is an efficient boat. Our spiritual master is a very expert captain. Scriptural injunctions are like favorable winds. We have a great opportunity to cross over the ocean of nescience of material existence. So, even though we have all these facilities, still, if we don't want to get out of this cycle of birth and then death, then we are definitely committing suicide. In verse 10, Srila Prabhupada is saying, the wombs which are also born in the same womb where the baby is growing are referred as Sodara. Sodara means bone of the same mother. As they both are born from same womb, they are brothers. So when we talk about brotherhood, we should consider each and every living entity and be kind to everyone. This shows Srila Prabhupada's mood. His vision is of a Uttama Adhikari. Srila Prabhupada is no doubt he's a Uttama Adhikari. So much compassion Srila Prabhupada has. Uttama Adhikari, they can see the presence of Krishna in every living entity as Paramatma. So this universal brotherhood, it can be understood only through Krishna consciousness. So the main cause of our suffering is the false identity. What we do, we identify ourselves as the body. Our real identity is we are the servant of Krishna. Jivet Swarup hoy Krishna Nityadas. We are the part and parcel of the Supreme. In Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Krishna says, Mamaivam Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasasendriyani Prakriti Sthani Karsati. So Jiva, or living entity, in his liberated state, he is freed from this material condition and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. But in his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. So we have to go to the root and disidentify ourselves with being something we are not. That is why we have to engage ourselves in the devotional service, because that's the only way we can understand our real identity, that we are servant of Krishna. We don't want to be the servant of these false masters which we have created in our system. We want to be the servant of the real master, that is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Yes, Lord, there is a very beautiful bhajan by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakura that is Jiva Jago, Jiva Jago. I'll just recite it. Jiva Jago, Jiva Jago, Gaura Chanda Bole, Kota Nitra Jao Maya, Pisachi Rakole. भजिब बोलिया ऐसे संसार भितारे बोलिया रहिले तुमी अविद्यार भारे तुम्हारी लईते आमी होइनु अवतारा आमी बिन बंधुआरा কে আছে তোমারা এনেছি আসাধি মায়া নাসিবার লাগি হরি নাম মহামন্ত্র লা তুমি মাগি বাকতি বিনোদা প্রভু চরণে পরিয়া সেই হরি নাম মন্ত্র লইলা মগিয়া জীব জাগো গৌরচন্দ বলে কোট নিদ্র যাও মায়া পিসাচির কোলে. So Lord Gaurang is calling, wake up, sleeping souls, wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. I have descended just to save you. Other than myself, you have no friend in this world. I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Take this Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, we have to identify ourselves who we are. We are going through so many sufferings, as we learned that in in the mother of womb we are suffering so much, and this material world is full with miseries. So the only way to get out of this all the material miseries, we have to take the shelter of the holy name. With this, I